Hey guys, good morning.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I suggest we wait a bit longer to see if more people will join in. Yeah, maybe we can start and become, if it's okay for you, I would say a couple of words because in the background, uh, we decided to make a handover because, as most of you already know, Magma is currently doing some changes. And one point is that a couple of people will leave the project. This includes, among others, Lars, Maximilian, and me here in the call. And step by step, we are doing a handover to giving parts away that we organized in the last couple of months. One part was the Devops meeting. I organized it by creating the agenda, asked for participation, and moderated the meeting. And Beacon decided to take over this meeting and the included task. Thank you very much for that. And with this, I will now stop and give over to you. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Nils. So Wave Labs has decided to take over the handover from you guys. So I'm working on it, and I'll be reaching out to you guys for the questions. Yeah. I'm still studying Magma, and I do have a lot of questions. But yeah, I'll be reaching out to you guys more and more going forward. So yeah, please be ready.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just to let you know, we are open for almost everything. So if you have questions, please approach us. We can organize a regular meeting to discuss questions or do it on the fly in Slack. Just what works best for you.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Thanks, Nils. Okay, so
I mean, for the agenda today, I could start because Sebastian Wolf would be the first one. He
Yeah,
is in Australia, so he asked me to take over and present his part. I would
okay.
just grab the screen. So here's the agenda. The first part is from Sebastian Wolf, and he is currently working on upgrading Fabric. 1 second, I just want to move my Zoom again. Sorry about that. So he is currently upgrading Fabric. We are using Fabric in CI in order to create virtual machines, set them up, execute tests, and stuff like that. The Fabric version we are currently using is 1.14. 1.14 is from 2018, so it's now kind of 5 years old. And especially the Fabric version we were using or are using currently is a fork that provides Python 3.4 plus support. This is not longer needed, and this fork is deprecated because the new Fabric version already supports Python in newer version. So he's upgrading this to 2.7.1. There are a lot of changes because the version we are using is very, very old. So we have a lot of syntax changes and a couple of changes in the behavior, but Sebastian is tackling this. I just want to give some examples what is changing. So if we take a look in the pull request, it's still a draft, but it's in progress. So what we see very often in our CI code is something like this: fab for Fabric, then the task that should be executed, then a colon, and then a couple of arguments. The new syntax looks a little bit different. It's the fab for Fabric, but then all scores here needs to be exchanged by a dash. This is just the new syntax they are using. And the flags are now passed in a more command line manner like this. There's a lot of other stuff that needs to be replaced regarding changed behavior of this tool, but it looks promising, and he hopes that it can be marked as ready for review in the near future. But as you see, a lot of code owner groups are needed for a review. So maybe this will be a little bit better with the new code owner group structure that is currently in progress. But a lot of people need to take a look at this. Yeah, that's it for the Fabric upgrade. Are there any questions? Then I would just pass over to Lars for Bazel updates.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, so the first point is about the Bazel caching. So for most of the past year, we've used the Bazel remote cache, which was a self-deployed Docker container with some additional infrastructure that we ran in AWS. But with the switch over to the community mode, we wanted to move away from the AWS account. So now the switch over from the Bazel remote cache to what I call here the Bazel Docker cache is now complete. So now we're using Docker containers built on top of the Bazel base container that already contain pre-built caches, which we download from the GitHub container registry. So we don't use the AWS account at all anymore for Bazel. And the infrastructure that we did have with AWS was dismantled with Terraform. This was also documented in this issue here, so you can read through the steps that were taken. All the so all the infrastructure should have been removed now. There should be no more ongoing costs for Bazel caching. And also the checked-in code and the secrets were removed. So basically everything from the remote cache is now gone. If Magma should ever be in a state where it makes more sense and there is a budget to use the remote cache again, you can find the information in the CI info repository. There's the Bazel remote caching folder, which contains all the Terraform code, so you can roll it out again. You need CI code owner access to see these files here. But in the README, there's a step-by-step introduction, which you can just follow. And yeah, if you just follow it word by word, the remote cache will be deployed again. So this is documented here and should be available if it should ever come up again. Any questions on caching so far then? If not, then I'll just move on to the documentation. So this here is about documentation specifically for Bazel for the access gateway. And what I want to mention here is that there is a draft PR, which is this one. It's 14809, which aims to add documentation for the access gateway with Bazel. And feedback is welcome. It's still in draft, so you can have a read through it, see if there's something missing, if you think something is wrong, whatever thing you think could be improved here. Also, you can preview it by running these steps, and maybe as an additional info, so this documentation is aimed at developers, so it's not really for people who want to deploy Magma, but it's more for developers who might might want to build a service, run some unit tests, things like this. So we can just copy the command here. You can just, from your host, if you just navigate, so this will navigate to the docs folder and then just run make dev. If you do that, it should only take a couple of seconds. Of course, you have to be on this branch for this, like to preview this page. And this will deploy a server on localhost, so you can look at the docs as if they were already merged. So you can navigate to this AGW with Bazel page down here. And this is what it would look like if we merged to PR right now. So let me tell you a bit about the basic outline here. So as you can see, there's one introductory section, which is just very basic. If you haven't heard anything about Bazel, you don't know what it is, you can start with this section here. There's also a link to the Bazel channel in Slack, where you can ask Bazel-specific questions for Magma. There's a link to the official reference guide and also to the GitHub wiki that we, of course, also have with Magma. Then there are sections on the various kinds of commands that you can use. So for building, of course, you can build targets, which could be services, but also libraries and other things. Then, of course, there's testing. So there are separate sections for unit tests, integration tests, also for generating code coverage, things like that. There's information on how to run services, how to use utility scripts, and also, which might be a bit unfamiliar because there's no equivalent for make, of course, is querying. So Bazel has a query language, and it's very easy to figure out, like, give me all the Python unit tests, for example, or also more complicated things like what is like a dependency graph of the Envoy controller. All of these things are quite straightforward using this query language. Here's just some examples, but there's much more information in the official documentation. Then there's a short section also on CI with Bazel at Magma. So what are the basic workflows that use Bazel? What do they do? Also Bazel diff, which is of course the tool that we use in CI right now to determine exactly which unit tests and what jobs need to run in CI on PRs. And in the end, there's a small section on the release build. How do you build a release with Bazel? What are the configurations and so on. So just as a rough outline, this is what was going on here, and this aims to be sort of most of what you need to get started with the access gateway with Bazel. Any further information should be linked on this page. But again, if there's anything missing, if you think something is incorrect and so on, get in touch either on the PR or in the Slack channel. Any questions on that? Or comments, feedback? Otherwise, I guess we can move on, and I would hand over to Marco or Niels.
Yeah, I will take this part. Then I will share my screen again. So we had small changes merged to master regarding the containerized AGW integration test, but I would like to go into a little bit more detail here in terms of the handover to tell you a little bit about the containerized integration test. So as you know, Magma basically has two flavors for release artifacts. One is a Debian package that is created. The other one is Docker containers. So the containerized AGW integration test then, of course, execute the integration test versus the containerized AGW environment. Where is this in CI? The job is called AGW build, publish, and test container. And if I click on that, then we see here that this job is executed on fork pull requests and on master. If we take a look at a run on the fork, we see in the summary here it comes up that we have a job to build containers. This actually creates these containers, and another separated container is created. Don't mind about that. But what we see here on the fork pull request, that the integration tests actually are not executed. The integration tests are only executed on master runs. So let's take a look here. So, and you see here they are executed, and they are executed in a matrix configuration. And if we scroll down, we see the results. Let me open this. So we execute integration tests marked as pre-commit tests, as extended tests, and as extended tests long. And what we see here is the pre-commit tests were all successful. The extended tests long as well. We only have 6 of those. And from the 44 extended tests, 3 are failing. They are currently a bit flaky, and we are looking into that. This structure here, pre-commit extended tests and extended tests long, is modeled in the repository in devs mk. And what we see here is we have the extended tests. So all these tests are executed. 3 of them are failing. The extended tests long, we have seen they are all successful. And the largest part, the pre-commit tests, were all successful as well. So what is happening here? The containers are built, they are tagged with a commit char, and they are also tagged with latest for the latest created container, but this is, of course, overwritten every time this runs on master. And the integration tests here run then, of course, versus an environment with the created containers here. In some cases, we want to do changes to the integration test, and we don't really care on what state the containerized environment is. We just want to execute them. We can do this as well. This workflow here utilizes the workflow below here, AGW test LTE integration with make containerized build. Don't worry about that everything is red here. This was the first iteration of the integration test workflow that just run all tests. This was very flaky, and then it was decided to split it up and make it a little bit more streamlined. But we can still use this workflow here that is, used in these steps here as well. So this workflow is triggered 3 times. And we can use it manually here to trigger the integration test by clicking Run Workflow. We can choose a branch from where we want to execute it. We can choose the tag, either its latest or one of the created chars. We say which registry should be used. It should always be the same. So actually, this value, it might be also a good idea to make it completely fixed. And we can choose if we want to run the pre-commit test, the extended test, or the extended test long. If we want to use another image tag here, we can do this by going to the Linux Foundation Artifactory that is used for Magma. Go to Artifacts. Here we have Magma Docker test. These are the images that are published and used in the job. For example, we use AGW Gateway C here. Here we see the tags, so we could use one of those tags. These are the first 8 characters of the commit hash on master. And if we scroll to the very end, come on. It's loading. We see the latest tag that is, of course, as I said, updated with each run. Yeah. So as a summary, this is the overview for the containerized integration test. The recent changes were that we now execute all tests versus this containerized environment. Before, we had a couple of tests singled out because they were not working yet with this environment. But now we assume every test should work, but we are still analyzing current issues to see if this is really the case. And we now have these improved overview for tests, for failed tests, what I showed you, that you see for each test category, how many tests were successful, how many tests failed. That's it, what I wanted to tell you about these tests. Are there any questions? Then, thanks a lot for listening, and I will pass over to Marco about the Docker Compose upgrade.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I will quickly grab the screen. And I will be talking about this open or still open PR. You may have read in Slack that we had to revert our first approach to do the upgrade of Docker Compose, and now we're the next PR. Now you should see my screen. I just got the message. And so this PR is the new approach. Okay, what is Docker Compose? It is basically an add-on to Docker, and it allows you to create and to manage multiple Docker containers at once, so to say. And in the first version of it, Docker Compose was not fully integrated into Docker, but more like a standalone program that just used that you could use, and it just worked with Docker internally. And now Docker Compose got fully integrated into Docker, and they upgraded it to version 2 with the full integration, and they are deprecating the version 1. This is why we want to do the upgrade here. And also, as Niels just told you, of course, we are deploying Magma in Docker containers. So this is used in various places throughout the code base as an important tool to deploy Magma. Of course, unfortunately, nothing or none of these upgrades come without work for us developers. So what Docker changed was the naming scheme of how the build images are called in the end. And of course, all of Magma code is expecting the images to be called as they are now in the old way. But we managed to do this with compatibility flags, so that we can now just keep the Docker Compose files as they are and still be able to use version 2 of Docker Compose. As you can see here, we are running various tests in CI and locally on our development machines. And this is also going to be a huge pull requests. 74 files are changed in various groups, but we are quite confident that we can get this in a mergeable state in the near future. Are there any questions about this? Okay, then I would continue with the next item. It's about the new Magma VMs. This is also still an open pull request with fortunately less code owner groups being responsible here. What we did, we built new base images for Magma Dev, Magma Test, and the Magma Traffic server. So during the last months, we had various changes to the packages or to the Ansible files that are basically building up these images. And now we thought it a good time to create new base images to fully incorporate the changes we did in the last months into the base images, which means when you provision the VMs, you don't need that much time to download some apt packages and install them, because it's already most stuff you need and most of the time-consuming steps were already done in building these images. And I have here some of the most prominent examples what was done during this upgrade. So the Go version was now upgraded to 1.19.3. The base images already contain the prerequisites for the DHCP CLI tool. They also already contain Docker Compose version 2, which I just talked about. After the switch to the Linux Artifactory, this Artifactory is already now part of the base images. And with these and a few other steps that you now don't have to execute when provisioning them, we managed quite a big speed up in provision times for these base images. And basically everything I told you now about is here in our GitHub wiki. So this page gives you a good overview of how to build these base images and how to test them and to publish them so that they can be downloaded in CI and by developers from the Vagrant Cloud. What I also did, there's an open pull request here, which or is a draft pull request marked as work in progress. So this is something that's put into documentation for the community. This basically is a CI job that would take the current version of all the JSON files corresponding to the base images, then take these, pack the VMs from it, and upload it to the server, so that there are less manual steps to be executed. Of course, this does not free you from testing and putting in some work to change the Ansible files, but this is quite a handy upgrade to the manual work that is still to be done. Okay, are there any questions about this? And if not, I would come to my last topic for today's meeting. I just want to quickly tell you about a bug fix we did in our CI workflow framework. And what basically happens when we merge a PR to master, then a variety of jobs get triggered by this merge. And from these jobs, secondary jobs also get triggered. For example, we have one job that builds a Magma Debian package and uploads it to the Artifactory, and then triggers a second job which downloads this just built Debian package and performs various tests against it. And what we've seen in the CI, I have here two of these runs. You see here, this is exactly the test I was just talking about. We test the LTE integration tests against the Debian package, which was built on a commit. And one of these runs is red, and one of these runs is green. And the funny thing is that you see here, this is the hash, the commit hash of basically that corresponds to these test runs. And funny enough, these hashes are the same for two test runs, which means we have no idea to which commit the green and the red run really belongs. And this also means that the test results get tagged with two identical hashes and uploaded to our CI dashboard, which just gives us false information. And the fix is already on master. So you can see here in the timeline, this was 3 weeks ago. We fixed this, I think, shortly after Christmas. And now the correct hash is parsed to also these secondary runs, and all the results are tagged with the correct hash and then visible in the CI dashboard. Okay, this was, I think, my part. If there are no more questions. Okay, and thank you very much, and I will stop sharing. And I guess Niels, are you chairing this meeting?
You're muted, Niels. We can't.
Sorry,
I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry. No, actually, I was not chairing the meeting, but the chair has left the meeting. But I mean, I can ask the question: is there anything else someone wants to bring up that is DevOps related and should be discussed here? Okay. This meeting is recorded, so feel free to pass it forward. It will be added to the agenda page. And as said in the beginning, for the handover, please contact us for any questions. And again, as I said, we are open for each format that will help you with the handover. So if you want to organize a regular meeting for questions or for show and tell sessions, please let us know. Then we can discuss this and set something up. Any last words from anyone? Then thank you very much. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. See you around. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.